You've seen the video. A wild elephant walks up to a group of strangers and gently sets her calf down in front of them. A humpback whale nudges her newborn toward a small boat full of researchers. A stray dog carries her puppies across a busy street, one by one, and drops them at a stranger's feet. The caption always says the same thing: she trusted humans. But the real answer is far stranger than trust. It has nothing to do with trust as you understand it. It has everything to do with your face. Think about how strange that actually is for a moment. A mother in the animal kingdom will fight almost anything to protect her young. She will charge a lion. She will ram a boat. She will attack an animal 10 times her size without hesitation. And yet, over and over again, all over the world, completely unrelated species have looked at a human being and made the opposite choice. Not fight, not flight. Surrender, of the gentlest kind. What is it about a two-legged, mostly hairless primate that keeps flipping that switch? Not your face specifically. Your species' face. The one that took 300,000 years to build, one gentle mutation at a time, until it became something almost every other species on Earth learned to read as safe. Here's where it gets strange. That process has a name, and it started somewhere you wouldn't expect. Not in a jungle, not on a savanna, in a fur farm in Siberia. In 1959, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyayev started an experiment that most scientists thought was reckless. He wanted to know if he could turn a wild fox into something like a dog, not through training, but through breeding. Every generation, he and his colleague Ludmila Trut picked out the calmest foxes, the ones that didn't flinch or snap when a human approached, and bred only them. Nothing else. Just tameness. Within a few generations, something happened that nobody predicted. The foxes didn't just get friendlier. Their ears went floppy. Their tails started to curl. Their fur changed color. Their skulls got smaller and rounder. They began whining and wagging their tails like puppies, seeking out human contact instead of avoiding it. Belyayev had only selected for one trait: calmness around people, and an entire cascade of physical changes came along for free. By the 10th generation, some of the foxes were behaving less like foxes and more like puppies, licking the hands of their keepers, whimpering when a person walked away. Trut kept the experiment running for decades, long after Belyayev died, and the foxes kept getting tamer, softer, and stranger looking with every new litter. Nobody had trained them to do any of this. Nobody had rewarded a single fox for being cute. The cuteness was a side effect, an accident of biology, riding along on the back of a single selected trait. Why would tameness drag along floppy ears and curly tails? Scientists now think it's because all of those traits share the same underlying biology, something called the neural crest, a strip of cells in a growing embryo that shapes everything from pigment to jawbones to the adrenal glands that control fear. Turn down the fear response, and you accidentally turn down a dozen other things connected to it. You get a softer face, a smaller body, a permanently younger-looking animal, frozen partway between infant and adult. This is called domestication syndrome. It shows up again and again across completely unrelated species, in cows, in rabbits, in guinea pigs, wherever humans or nature have selected repeatedly for calmness over aggression. The pattern is so consistent that scientists can now look at a skeleton, wild or ancient, and make an educated guess about how tame that population was, just from the shape of the skull alone. And here is the part that should make the hair on your arms stand up. You have it too. A researcher at Duke University named Brian Hare spent years studying bonobos, dogs, and human evolution side by side, and he noticed the same pattern showing up in the human skull. Compared to our ancient ancestors, modern human skulls have smaller brow ridges, rounder faces, less bone density up top, smaller teeth, a more juvenile, less threatening shape overall, even in fully grown adults. Hare's conclusion was almost unbelievable at first. He proposed that somewhere in the last few 100,000 years, humans domesticated themselves, not through a farmer selecting foxes, through each other. The most aggressive, hot-tempered individuals in early human groups were more likely to be pushed out, punished, or killed by the group itself. The calm ones, the cooperative ones, survived and reproduced more often. Generation after generation, humanity was running Belyayev's fox experiment on itself. without a lab, without a scientist. Just the slow pressure of living in groups where cruelty got you killed and kindness got you fed. Hare wasn't working alone on this idea either. He built on decades of comparative work, looking at bonobos, a close cousin of the chimpanzee that is far less aggressive, and noticed the same skeletal softening in bonobos compared to their more violent chimpanzee relatives. Two separate primates, evolving in two separate directions, both arriving at gentler faces through the same basic mechanism: selection against aggression. Humans just happen to run the experiment on themselves, using each other as the filter instead of a river or a predator. The result is the face you're wearing right now. Softer bones, rounder cheeks, a permanently younger, gentler shape than your ancestors had a few 100,000 years ago. A face built, quite literally, to look non-threatening. So when a wild animal looks at a human, what is it actually reading? Partly, it's reading exactly what a fox pup reads in another calm fox. A face with reduced threat signals. No prominent brow ridge lowering into an aggressive stare. No bared teeth. Eyes that are unusually easy to read because of one more strange thing about you. You are one of the only primates on Earth with visible white sclera, the white part surrounding your iris. Most primates have dark sclera that blend into the iris, hiding where they're looking. Humans evolved the opposite. Researchers call this the cooperative eye hypothesis, the idea that visible whites evolved specifically so that other humans, and apparently other species, could track your gaze and know your intentions from a distance. A predator hiding its gaze is dangerous. A creature that broadcasts exactly where it's looking, openly, is doing the opposite of hunting. It's signaling cooperation. It's telling every animal nearby, human or not, I am not stalking you. I am watching with you. Watch a wild predator sometime, a big cat stalking prey on a nature documentary. Its eyes stay fixed and unreadable, dark, narrow, giving nothing away until the last possible second. Now think about the last time a dog looked up at you from across the room. You knew instantly where it was looking. You could read its intention almost like a sentence. That readability isn't an accident. It's a signal, and it's one your species has been broadcasting for longer than language has existed. Now here's the twist that changes the whole story. It isn't just that animals are reading you. It's that you and the animal are building something together in real time, and it happens faster than either of you can consciously control. A Japanese researcher named Takefumi Kikusui ran an experiment in 2015 that measured something nobody expected to find outside of a mother holding her own infant. He had dogs and their owners simply gaze into each other's eyes, nothing more, and measured their oxytocin levels before and after. Oxytocin is the hormone your body releases when you bond with someone, the same chemical flooding a mother's brain when she nurses her newborn. Kikusui found that when a dog and its owner made prolonged eye contact, oxytocin rose in both of them, not just the human. The dog, too. Longer gazes produced bigger spikes. It was a loop, a feedback system running between two different species using the exact same ancient chemistry. Kikusui's team even tested this with wolves, animals raised closely by human handlers from birth, and found the loop simply didn't fire the same way. The wolves could look at their handlers just as long as the dogs did, sometimes longer, but their oxytocin levels barely moved. Something about generations of domestication had rewired the dogs specifically to hijack this ancient bonding circuit through eye contact alone. It wasn't just familiarity. It was a rewritten biological pathway, thousands of years in the making. The same slow rewriting that happened to Belyaev's foxes and to your own ancestors. That loop almost certainly didn't evolve for dogs and humans specifically. It evolved for mothers and infants tens of millions of years ago, long before dogs existed. But because dogs were bred by humans, generation after generation, for calmness and connection, they backed their way into hijacking a hormonal system built for parenthood and turned it into a system for cross-species friendship. That's an important distinction to hold on to. Evolution rarely builds something entirely new from scratch. It borrows. It repurposes old machinery for new jobs, the same way a phone camera repurposes a lens design that was originally built for telescopes. The mother-infant bonding circuit was sitting there already, ancient and powerful, and domestication simply found a way to plug a second species into it. So, picture the elephant again. the one setting her calf down in front of strangers. She isn't handing over her baby because she has reasoned through the concept of trust the way you would. She's reading a face with muted threat signals, visible eyes broadcasting where the attention is pointed. A calm, non-predatory posture that took your species 300,000 years to build through the same self-selecting cruelty punishes itself pressure that shaped Belyaev's foxes. And somewhere underneath all of that, an ancient hormonal circuit, the same one activating between a mother and her own newborn, is quietly firing in response to prolonged, gentle eye contact. You didn't earn that. You inherited it. It was built into your bones before you were born, passed down by ancestors who survived specifically because they weren't the aggressive ones. Think about how often this plays out in your own life without you noticing. Your dog stares at you across the room for no obvious reason, and you feel a small, warm pull to look back. A baby, human or otherwise, makes eye contact with you, and your voice automatically softens. Your movements slow down, your face relaxes into an expression you didn't consciously choose. Even a stranger's cat, sitting on a fence, holding your gaze a beat too long, can trigger the same small flicker of warmth before you've thought a single word about it. You are running Kikusui's feedback loop dozens of times a day, unconsciously, with anyone and anything that shares enough of that ancient signal to trigger it. Notice it the next time it happens. A toddler on a train stares at you, unblinking, the way only toddlers can, and your face rearranges itself into something gentler before you've made a single conscious decision. That isn't politeness. That's the same circuit Kikusui measured in a lab, firing quietly in public, on a train, with a stranger's child, for no reason you ever agreed to. It even shapes how you judge other people. Faces with softer, more neotenous features, rounder cheeks, bigger eyes relative to the face, are consistently rated as more trustworthy and less threatening in psychological studies, regardless of the person's actual character. Konrad Lorenz noticed this pattern back in 1943 and called it the baby schema, the specific cluster of features that triggers a caretaking response in observers almost automatically. He noticed it worked across species too, which is exactly why you find a round-faced puppy or a wide-eyed kitten irresistible even though you share almost no biology with either of them. The same shape, the same proportions, the same signal, borrowed by evolution again and again because it works. You've been living inside that response your entire life, both giving it and receiving it, without ever naming it. Advertisers know it, which is why mascots and cartoon characters almost always have oversized eyes and rounded faces. Photographers know it, which is why portrait lenses are chosen to soften a jawline instead of sharpen it. None of that is new information you're discovering. It's a very old signal, dressed up in modern packaging, still doing exactly what it did for Belyaev's foxes, and for the earliest calm humans who survived long enough to pass on their faces. So the wild elephant isn't doing something mystical when she approaches a stranger with her calf. She's doing something almost mechanical, reading cues that your species spent hundreds of thousands of years evolving specifically to broadcast. The whale nudging her newborn toward a boat isn't performing an act of faith. She's responding to the absence of threat signals in a creature that, evolutionarily speaking, looks and behaves like a giant, permanently juvenile primate. That should feel a little humbling. It should also feel a little strange, because it means the thing you thought was uniquely yours, your capacity for connection, your gentleness, the invisible thing animals seem to sense in you, was never a personal virtue in the first place. It's closer to a physical trait, like the softness in Belyaev's foxes, sitting quietly in your bone structure, your eyes, your hormones, waiting for the right creature to read it. It also means the wild animal isn't wrong to relax around you. The signal is real. The face really has been softened by 300,000 years of your ancestors failing to survive their own cruelty. The eyes really do broadcast intention instead of concealing it. The hormonal loop really does fire, measurably, in a lab, when eye contact is held long enough. None of it is an illusion. It's simply older and stranger, and far less personal than the word trust ever suggested. Somewhere out there right now, another one of those videos is being filmed. Another wild animal, in another part of the world, is about to walk toward a stranger with its most vulnerable thing in the world and set it down. The comment section will fill up within minutes with the same word, over and over. Trust. Amazing. She trusted them. Nobody in that comment section will be wrong exactly. They just won't know they're describing 300,000 years of biology in a single soft word. So the next time you watch a video of a wild animal placing her most vulnerable, most precious thing into human hands, don't wonder what she saw in you specifically. Know what she saw instead. 300,000 years of your ancestors being just calm enough, just gentle enough, just unthreatening enough to survive each other. Written permanently into your face. Waiting, long before you ever showed up, for her to read it.